It's an orange juice.
What's up everyone, this is OJ. Everything in this video will assume that the barrel is clumped precisely in the center. The goblins at tournament standard stab the tower exactly 7 times when uninterrupted. You need to understand an inconsistency with true red and blue. It's not as simple as fixing one thing. There are multiple mechanics that interact differently. For the Goblin Barrel, if you're true blue, both of your princess towers will attack the top right, then the top left, then the bottom goblin. However, when you're true red, both towers prioritize the top left, then the top right, and finally the bottom goblin. Currently, the best counter to the Goblin Barrel is the log. If they switch up their Goblin Barrel placement and put it in the side or the corner, you'll need to react accordingly. Against spellbait decks, you're going to want to save your log exclusively for their barrel. Saving the log is really important. Any unit that's inexpensive or can counter a push is really good. Against a Skarmy by itself, it would be too easy to log them. For 1 elixir, you can gain good trades, all while having saved your log. With Zap's current state, zapping the goblins, they'll survive and still get 3 shots off of your tower. If you have fire spirits as well, you don't have to worry about saving the log, as long as they don't zap your spirits. When you plant the spirits really early, the spirits will be able to load faster than the goblins do and completely shut them down. Other spells work really well too. Arrows are a neutral elixir trade, just make sure you have other splash units if you commit your arrows. Firebolt obviously shuts down the goblins, but you're going to be making consistent negative trades with this if you're only dealing with them with a fireball. If you have a tornado, you can activate the King's Tower using the tornado on any of these tiles. This is only worth it if your princess towers have high health and you're not going to be losing them anytime soon. Over 3 seconds, the tornado deals just enough damage to kill the goblins. So you can pull them into the 3rd or 4th tile to completely shut them down if you absolutely cannot afford that tower damage, or if you've already activated that King Tower. The skeleton army is so massive that when you plant them in the back, it swarms them and completely shuts them down. You just need to be careful that they don't send in a preemptive log or zap to take out the Skarmy. The Goblin Gang is very similar to the Skarmy in that they can swarm, but because there are much fewer units, you should plant them as soon as you hear the Goblin Barrel coming. Otherwise, they'll get 2 stabs off of your tower. Going a step further, you can make a positive trade with just goblins. You absolutely need to react as fast as possible. The bowler can potentially counter this card perfectly, but you need a more precise timing. Check the shadow out when I released the bowler. This was a bit too early. The bowler steps forward and angles his boulder to the right, missing that left goblin. This is when I released the bowler. The shadow was almost at the river, so this was a little too late and the goblins end up stabbing the tower twice before the boulder crushes them. The perfect timing is releasing the bowler when the shadow is around this area. This lets you shut down the goblins completely. The beautiful thing about the bowler is that if they try to get tricky on you and do a side or corner plant, it's even worse for them because the bowler will just snipe them out. Currently, the Executioner has a 0.9 tile radius and he does not hit all of the goblins. Hopefully, once the stun is removed, they bring his radius back up to 1 tile. This will make him function exactly like a bowler and the timing should be similar. This is where it gets a bit more complex on True Blue. Since I know the tower is attacking the top right goblin first, I'll plant 1 elixir skeletons to take out the top left and bottom goblin. For 1 elixir, the barrel only gets 1 stab off of your tower. Next time you're playing a game, pay attention to the first barrel, and look at which goblin your tower prioritizes first, the left or the right one. With barbarians, if you plant them in the back, the goblins will get 2 to 3 stabs off of your tower depending on how fast you can react. If your tower favors the top right goblin and you plant the barbarians on that side, they will get 2 stabs. When you plant it on the opposite side, the tower takes out the top right goblin while your goblins take care of the top left and bottom goblins, and they'll only stab your tower once. The same thing kind of applies with guards if you plant them in the back. The goblins will get anywhere from 1 to 3 stabs depending on how fast you can react. If you plant the guards on the opposite side the tower attacks, the goblins will only get 1 stab off your tower. But their swords give them a slightly longer reach, so if you can react fast enough, if you plant them on the same side the tower prioritizes, they'll still only get 1 stab. The lumberjack can one-shot goblins, but there's only 1 of him, so placement is really important. A rear placement and the goblins will get 2 to 3 off of your tower. But if you plant it on the opposite side of your tower, a goblin will not get more than 1 stab. but it has to be on this tile placement. A giant skeleton can one-punch man each goblin. Planting him on the opposite side is the most efficient way to take out the goblins. They'll only get 2 stabs. Elite barbarians are really expensive. They can prevent all but 2 stabs. I don't really recommend this since they cost 6 elixir. Planting them in the back gives your opponent time to articulate a counter, so it'll be a bad trade. A Valkyrie is kind of interesting. It doesn't matter which side you plant her on, she'll always shut down the barrel. The goblin will only get 1 shot off. This is where you have to be careful. Your opponent can smarten up and start throwing the barrel on different sides, messing up this counter. A minion horde is quite costly, but it can stop most of the goblins. The faster you deploy them, the better. Only 1 goblin stabs a tower. Minions work too. Since they cost a little less, they're not too bad to use. They can prevent almost as much damage. The goblin will only stab your tower twice. Same with the mega minion. It one-shots goblins and can stop the barrel from getting more than 2 stabs on your tower. Ranged units are kinda interesting because it doesn't matter where you place them. With a musketeer, the barrel always gets 2 stabs. Archers and wizards are exactly the same. They prevent most of the damage and the barrel only gets 2 stabs regardless of where you place them, as long as they're deployed within range of all 3 goblins. The Dark Goblin is a bit weaker, but the same thing. Plant him anywhere and the goblins will get 3 stabs on your tower. The Witch placement is pretty critical. Planting her in the back, the goblins will get 3 stabs on your tower. If you plant her on the side that your tower prioritizes, they'll get 2 stabs on the tower. But if you plant it on the opposite side, you can shut down the barrel even harder, and they'll only get 1 stab on your tower. A Goblin Barrel actually spawns in the center. This is why sometimes splash units can take out all 3 goblins because they attack right as they explode outwards, kind of like lava pups. With an Electrowiz, you can actually zap all 3 goblins if you time it precisely. There's approximately 9 frames you can execute this, so the window is relatively big, if you're good at rhythm games. I find the best way for me to get this down is to look at the shadow because the Goblin Barrel is a different size and shape every time you throw it, so the only consistent factor is the shadow. This is the earliest you can release your Electrowiz, right as the shadow reaches this tile. The absolute latest you can release your Electrowiz is right when the shadow touches this area. I can do this about 90% of the time in real games, so I really only need to do this when I've exhausted all of my options and the log is out of rotation. Practice with your clan mates in friendly battles. Keep in mind if they fix the Goblin Barrel true red and blue issues, just apply the knowledge and place the side that the tower does not target first. Despite spell baits being really annoying to play against, I think the Goblin Barrel is really healthy to the game, because it's one of the few cards where you can play mind games with your opponent. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more quality OJ.